Evening, Generals. This is going to be a fairly quick update because things are going pretty well and there's nothing I really need to hit specifically for any one army. So I'm just going to kind of click through subdivisions while I talk just to show you the ranges so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And I will also put on some of the secondary information here so you can see sort of where the convoys are and that sort of thing while I talk. First thing I need to address before I do any of that, though, is needed to address the issue of relationships with my subordinates. Most importantly is General Wagner here, who's in charge of the basically trucks for our logistical arm. Now we have a poor relationship with him. Trains are great. Gurkha loves us. Wagner, on the other hand, is a little peeved. Now, this actually comes through in a couple of ways. It makes some decisions a little more expensive, makes some cars more expensive, and as you can see right there, the maximum fuel stockpile size is down by 10,000 barrels. So that means that basically the worse his relationship with us is, it can affect you guys and your ability to actually fight in the field. One thing to consider then is you might have to start deciding to appease some of these senior figures. Same thing goes really for anyone. For instance, since we're on good relationships here with von Lieb and von Bach, that helped us out. We're able to get a Panzer group with a focus. It's very nice. Von Rundstedt, -3. That means I cannot give a focus. I cannot give this focus card to arguably the most important part of Army Group South, which is the 1st Panzer Army. So relationships have a impact on this game. Goering, same thing. He doesn't really like us very much, but Luftwaffe is not doing too much right now, so no worries. Von Brauchstich is a little more costly again. He doesn't like us very much, and this can come through with him coming up with different orders and things and basically interfering with us. So going back to my original point here about General Wagner, though, it might be worth basically biting the bullet and just trying to make him happy. And what makes him happy is taking care of his trucks, not overloading his supply lines, shifting stuff over onto the rails, who already like us anyway, so we can afford at this point to annoy Gerka quite a bit, and it won't come back to hurt us. But that's just the real big issue there is going to be that. And the other thing is going to be refitting your units soon. As you can see right here, like for the 4th Panzer Group, 67% runners for tanks. Now, the good news is we've actually just had the order issued to refit these guys. So they're going to be kind of stuck in the field. You can see they can't move right now. They're all kind of grayed out. It's because they're sitting there resting and refitting, repairing the tanks, breaking them down in the field, getting ready to run again. This takes a while. I think it takes a week, so 2 turns to go through. So you're stuck there for a while. So it's usually a good idea to double this up. So coming down here, we just took Minsk. Moving the forward supply base to Minsk is got to be a priority. But that also means that since the fuel supply is going to be shifted here and you're not going to have a lot of barrels to run with anyway, now is a perfectly good time to take your Panzer groups and have them rest, refit, perhaps ship them over from Blitzkrieg to offensive to save yourself oil in the long run. Whatever you want to do, but right now is probably a good time to kind of double up so you're not wasting time later. All right, and for decisions, I'm going to run through those because I can't really cover a lot of them specifically. It's a lot of extra typing and stuff. We've got some big ones here. The Einsatzgruppe is going to be a difficult one to choose on, relocating things. And this one here, truck refit and captured trucks, these are the ones I was talking about in regards to General Wagner and his approval of us. Captured trucks, basically, I either make the generals happy or I make Wagner happy. And right now, Wagner is not very happy, so it might be coming down to a time where you go, you know what, I might have to hinder myself a little bit to give Wagner a little bit more reason to like us, because he doesn't like us. All right, so anyway, just a couple of unit coverage here so you can see where units can move. Right here, the Reds are basically pulling back through the Baltic states. There's no one on this side. There might be a garrison up here by Pskov, but I really can't say for sure. They've abandoned this side for sure, so the 16th Army is able to keep advancing while the 4th Panzer Group sits here and refits, so the 18th mops up. Coming down here, some of the units here, when it came down to moving orders, they didn't get to move as far as they should have, and that's just because they ran out of fuel. Moving every single mechanized unit in Army Group Center will cost you a lot of fuel very quickly. So it's just one thing to be aware of, is definitely make sure that when you're getting orders for both panzer groups, put them in the order you want me to follow, because if I go through, for instance, all of 2nd Panzer Group's orders and then get 3rd Panzer Group, that means if 2nd Panzer Group happened to burn through all the fuel, that means 3rd Panzer Group couldn't do anything. So I'm fine with you kind of mixing them up as long as you just know this is the order to follow. And also just try and cut maneuvers to a minimum. And yeah, but right now they're back to having fuel and everything's within range, it looks like. So it's except for these guys are at the limits of the range. But yeah, fuel is here, and you're going to run out of fuel quickly if you should move that fuel supply base to Minsk. All right, and the other thing is, definitely when you're getting orders, make sure that you take into account flanking bonuses. One of the most important things in this game, and really fighting here, is we're fighting blitzkrieg. We're really not supposed to be the anvil. We're supposed to be going around and circling them and wrapping them up. Like this army right here, this is 6 divisions. Hammering at these guys straight on would be costly. Much better to try and cut around behind them, cut them off, and then wipe them out all in one go. Because, well, if they're dug in and fighting to the last man, they actually do resist a little more, a little longer, because they have nowhere to retreat to. It's much better to fight one battle and wipe out these 6 than to fight 3 or 4 battering them down and pushing them back and pushing them back. All right, and the swamp area, you can see right here, the Reds has really started to try and pull up on the right, using this road here. And these divisions here will have to try and hold them, it looks like, or the 4th will have to advance, along the northern edge of the swamp and basically wrap these guys up, because they're kind of exposed and strung up there. But anyway, we're in a good position here. We've seized the city. The rail lines, if you look right back here, the black line here, look how close that is already to the city. The train engineers are doing a good job of getting that set up. And up ahead, you have some guys, but they're not dug into these fortifications just yet. So again, wrap these guys up, blitz around behind them, secure those bridges, and keep pushing. Though, again, I would say that this turn will probably be your last big offensive for your panzer units, because you are going to start running out of oil real quickly once you start moving that base to Minsk. All right, now Army Group South. Same thing with the shifting of the fuel depot here. Now you actually do have some good fuel supply. Look at that, 7,800 units of fuel. For comparison, Army Group Center, which has 2 panzer groups, has only 5,500 units of fuel. Now this is because when you're shifting the forward supply base, it denies you access to fuel because they're shifting the base, so you can't actually get access to it. That doesn't mean they stop producing it. The petrol's still there. So when the base is finally set up, you actually usually have a nice little surplus. So right now you've actually got a lot to work with. So those last 2 turns where your units haven't been able to move very far due to a lack of fuel, that's over with. So I'm going to give you some good references here for these units, just so you can see how far you can exploit that. Down here you can see the Reds pulled back. They've been retreating here. So these guys here just have to kind of cross the river and get back into things. Let me give you some more data points here to look at. Some of these units didn't move as far as they were supposed to, or as they were ordered to, and that's one thing to consider for a lot of the orders here, is that, especially for mechanized units, you can see right here, a lot of these guys did not nearly end up where they were supposed to, especially the 11th and 13th, because they were out of command, so they could only move 1 hex. So that's the reason why the Panzer Group is still spread out despite the orders to kind of bring them all together. The other thing to consider is you definitely want to avoid moving these mechanized units if you don't have to. So it's better to basically just move them to where they're going to attack, then bring them together and then go someplace, because you'll burn extra fuel that way. Let's go over the infantry here. They're still in a good position. The swamp's slowing them down. Looks like they're really kind of reinforcing their right over here, probably trying to protect the crossing here and protect Kiev. And this line of fortifications is, I'm not going to say worrying, but it's something to consider because it's behind a river, it's dug in, and they're reinforcing it. it might be better to go around the right here and just outflank them. Take Prosecute Euro and try and link up this rail line here. All right, down south here for the Romanians. Again, give you some units to see. Like these units, crossing that river is going to take up most of their movement costs, so don't expect these guys to do anything for the next few turns while they move into position. One thing to also consider is, with these units, you can see which ones are highlighted for each unit. These two armies, the 11th and the 4th, are a little bit mixed up in terms of, like the divisions from each army are kind of intermingled. So definitely make sure that when you give the orders, you don't want to have, don't want to get confused about which divisions belong to which army, because then you'll end up with divisions out of command. So yeah, right here you can see the Reds are basically pushed up against the river. You can wipe these guys out, squeeze them up. Odessa's only got 2 divisions dug in. Now these divisions will be dug in, and it is urban fighting, so it'll be hard to pull them out of there, but they're not too strong, so don't worry. And the 1st Armored wasn't able to do anything last turn again because the fuel was used up by 1st Panzer Group, so by the time the 1st Romanian Armored got any orders to move anywhere, there was no petrol left. So just the last few of these here, just to give you a visual reference, just so you can see how far they can actually march and fight. You see the Romanian units are in a little bit worse condition than the Germans, and that's just because they're inferior troops. So they get battered a little bit more, and they take a little bit longer to kind of recuperate and get back to a standard, a good level. And they're just a little more inferior in general. So them at full strength doesn't equal a German division at full strength. All right, and then I'm just going to squeeze on up here and show you the Finnish front, just to sake your curiosity. It's all right. The Finns switched over to just a standard offensive position because there's nowhere to blitz, so there's no reason to get their units all tired and worn out. Still pushing forward. The Reds are reinforcing it though, but again, the Finnish government is still saying no, so they're not going to be advancing anywhere. All right, that looks like everything. Just remember again to look at the cards, focus on those. I posted those. Consider the need to rest your divisions if they start building up a lot of fatigue. And as an example of what I mean, these units are resting, but I'll show you, for instance, let's grab a foot here, 35th Infantry. Fort status, you can see right here, low level fatigue, it's negative 70% readiness, no AP effect yet. So that's not bad. They're a little bit low on the readiness level, but that's not terrible. Later on though, if you don't do the rest of refit, they might start getting an AP malice. And that can be kind of bad for their ability to actually move and do anything. And this applies, you can see right here, even to the cavalry. Basically, every unit on Blitzkrieg that isn't motorized or mechanized or panzers will build up that fatigue. You can see right here, low level fatigue. All right, it's not bad. Just be aware of that. Something to consider going forward. We're getting near the 10% mark for some units. And once it starts getting above that, that's when you start seeing less APs. And APs affect how far you can move, how many battles you can fight, and how well you do in battles, because the unit that runs out of AP first stops attacking or retreats. All right, that's everything. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And this update was out a little bit late, so hopefully if we can get all the orders and everything in by this weekend and the next just couple of days, then the next update will be out a lot sooner, just to make up for it. All right, you guys have a wonderful one.